So my name is David, and I'm here with Hugo from the team. We'll be presenting a bit of a more technical talk today, focused on developing extensions to our ovo platform we call plugins. So if you haven't watched the previous talk that was a few weeks back, ovo is a Python application for de novo protein design. We like to call it an ecosystem, and the main reason is this plugin development. A plugin is kind of an independent contribution where you don't have to create a pull request to extend ovo itself, but you create a separate Python package that is separately installed to extend the app with new functionalities. So that's what we call a plugin. So in the first few slides, I'll give a brief intro on what plugins are, what are the key principles. Then Hugo will give an overview of a new plugin that he's developing for enzyme family expansion using protein language models. So this is quite an advanced workflow that fine-tunes protein language model, ProGen2, and then generates sequence-based designs. So it's kind of beyond the scope of the tutorial, but we wanted to show it really to demonstrate what are the advanced capabilities. And then as part of the tutorials, we'll do two small plugins. The first one will be really minimal, based only on Python and Streamlit UI that does structure alignment. And the second plugin, which introduces also a workflow. So this is based on Nextflow, where you compute some properties on a set of protein structures using a custom tool of choice. In this case, we would be looking at a humanness evaluation plugin using a tool that already exists. It's called Prompt, that we open sourced last year. And ultimately, in the future, we would also like to do a tutorial on creating a plugin for designing de novo design, which probably, if you're interested in this, won't happen today, but we are really looking forward to doing this at some point in the future. But we figured that there are so many concepts for ovo plugins already without this, that we want to first introduce the basics on these other two simpler plugins, and then in the future, we would dive into creating an actual de novo design pipeline as a plugin. So, by the way, feel free to shoot questions anytime. In the meantime, you can raise your hand or use the chat. I'll try to also check the chat. So a plugin is a Python package that the user can install into their environment together with ovo. And when they do that, they can see new UIs in the web application, and it enables them to run new workflows. So in this case, this plugin that we will be building today, it actually already exists. So I'll be using it as a demonstration to build it really from scratch, although a simpler version. This plugin can take a set of designs that we designed with R diffusion and protein MPN and chop them up into overlapping peptides and check them against a human reference database to see which of them already appear in the human proteome and which of them are novel, so potentially immunogenic. And then this is summarized as a score where 0 means no difference to human, and higher up means more mutations are needed to kind of mutate the sequence into a human sequence. And this is on peptide level. So the way that this is built is with a Python package, as I said. So this Python package contains a few different technologies. So mainly it's Python. This glues everything together and also defines the UI. The UI is built with Streamlit, which is a Python library that's really straightforward to learn. I think is a nice learning curve. Then there's Nextflow. This defines the pipeline. So this defines the steps of the pipeline that can run as jobs on the HPC, that they can use different tools. And these tools are not part of this ovo Python environment, but they are they use separate environments. So that's what we have here as Conda and Docker, is that each tool that you introduce with a plugin should live in its own environment. So this is to ensure that we don't introduce conflicts in the future as people try adding different tools and different versions of tools. You cannot really manage everything into one environment. So now Hugo will take over and tell you more about EnGenZyme. You can keep the mic here.
Yeah, okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Hugo. I'm working at MSD as an intern, and I'm here to talk about EnGenZyme, which is a plugin that I've been developing for the last few months. So before actually going to the implementation and showing the user interface, I would like to say a few words about what it actually does. So you can see a diagram of the workflow. The purpose of this plugin is that we start with a particular enzyme family, and we have a reference enzyme in this family, and we try to diversify that collection to create new enzymes and also validate them as part of this workflow. And the way we do this is by fine-tuning Progen 2, which is a generative protein language model. It was trained on a large collection of proteins, but there's no way to effectively prompt it to generate what you would want. So that's why we have the enzyme family to fine-tune the model. After the fine-tuning, we use that model to generate sequences and evaluate them using a few different tools. First of all, we do some intrinsic evaluation where we look at perplexity and similarity to the reference structure, a number of identical positions in the alignment. Then we also use MMSeqs to find out how similar our generated sequences are to the training data, so that we can ensure we are actually generating something new. And then also we do structure prediction using ESM-fold. We look at the confidence of the model PLDDT and structural comparison of the prediction to the reference enzyme. And finally, we do ESM inverse folding to get sequence recovery to see how well the inverse folded sequence matches with the generated one. And afterwards, we do clustering to get rid of redundancies in the generated set, filter based on some thresholds that we selected to obtain the final panel of sequences. So now I'll show what it actually looks like in the OVO interface. So when you define this plugin, you will have a new page on the left that you can go to, as you can see, the EnGenZyme sequence design. And firstly, this is what the input form looks like. In our case, it is a FASTA file that you can upload. Also a reference protein, you can define it either by the PDB code, in which case it gets downloaded automatically, or use your own structure. Alternatively, you can use a sequence, in which case we run ESM-fold to predict the structure and use that as the reference. After that, you would submit the workflow and wait for it until it finishes. Another way to run this workflow is in case you have a fine-tuned model from a previous run and you just want to generate new sequences, you don't want to train it any further. So this is what that branch of the workflow would look like. You can see all your trained models from previous runs. They're sorted by the final loss on a held out test set, and you can select the model based on that. Then again, specify the generation hyperparameters, how many new sequences do you want to generate, then click submit, and then later look at the designs. So another part of the UI that my plugin is implementing is the design view, which is in the designs page. You will have this new tab. And in our case, it's just showing a table, which is color-coded of the metrics or descriptors that we are computing for each of the generated designs. So what actually gets saved as the output of this workflow? So firstly is the designs. it's a sequence generated by Progen2, and the ESM fold predicted structure. Associated with each design, there are several descriptor values, which you also define as part of the plugin. So in our case, it's for the similarity to the training data, PLDDT, etc. Those are also objects stored in the database, the descriptor values. And lastly, artifacts, which are fine-tuned weights of Progen2 and also the loss curves and other configuration files. And the objects from the database have a link to the storage where the actual files are stored. So this is kind of repeating what David said in the beginning, but this is what the structure of the directory actually looks like. Firstly, you define in the init file, basically the interface between your plugin and OVO. Then we have descriptors and the design view page, as well as the models, in which case it's the workflow, how to pre-process and post-process the data, and other things like that. Then also part of it is the Streamlit UI, where we define how the workflow gets submitted, and the biggest part of it is the actual pipeline, which is triggered through Nextflow. We have a Docker container which defines all the dependencies, and the actual Python code that gets executed inside the Nextflow pipeline, which corresponds to the parts of the pipeline that I show, like training, generation, and evaluation. And last, we have tests both for the pipeline itself, just for the Nextflow part, but also integration tests that actually creates objects in the OVO database, and you can browse the designs afterwards. So why are we developing this as a plugin into OVO and not a standalone tool by itself? So one of the big advantages is that OVO makes the data management of your generated proteins, but also models that you have fine-tuned very easy. You can it's sorted into projects, rounds, and pools, so that you can filter based on your thresholds that you need. It has the UI built in to explore the designs, but also allows you to export the files as CSV or the structures as PDB files, so you can do the analysis as you typically would. It is quite simple to develop the UI and Streamlit. As you saw, the workflow submission page is just a simple form where you upload files or define numeric values. You can also use the command line interface to submit the jobs instead of the UI. And another important thing is the downstream analysis of the designs that you generate. Like, you can do refolding, which just means, in my case, I used ESM fold as part of my pipeline, but you can also use AlphaFold to like double check the structure, or Protein QC, which is a collection of many different pipelines to compute just additional descriptors such as solubility and many more. Okay, that's it from me. So I'm back to David.
Great. So I will try sharing my screen, the other screen. Great. So this will get a bit technical. So what we'll do here is we'll try to create this first plugin, which is going to be to align protein structures in our that we created in OVO. So this is a simple UI plugin. What you need to do, we introduce this init plugin command. You first need to upgrade your version of OVO into, well, yeah, you need to be in your Conda environment. It's best to use Conda here. We also use UV, but Conda is easier when you're managing different packages together in one environment ad hoc. So you need OVO version 1.0.2 to do this. So just make sure to upgrade. This should tell me that OVO is already at version 1.0.2. So you can do OVO init plugin. So this will create a directory. So I'm here, I created this demo directory where I will create this new plugin. So first I'll need to pick a name. So the convention is that we start with ovo as a prefix and then the name of your tool or plugin that you want to do. In this case, you can call it aligner, as like structure aligner. And we have 3 templates to choose from, actually 2, the third one is not prepared yet. So these 2 we will explore today. And the first one focuses on just a simple UI plugin without any pipelines. So it's a UI, and we can also choose to initialize it as a repo and add the license file. So this created this directory, which is works as a Python package. You can pip install it, and you have this Python script is really the main thing where we define the UI logic. So if you're an ovo app now, this is as usual. This will start up ovo locally. So if you go to design page, actually you don't see the plugin yet. There's nothing new here. What you need to do is to pip install it. So you need to do pip install E to make sure that whatever changes you make will be reflected in the installed package. If you just pip install, you would need to pip install after making any change. So pip install basically creates a symlink to this directory when it installs. So I can do install, and it's actually here when you run the command. It hints that you should install it. Okay, now it's installed. So I can run the app again. And I also have PyCharm here, where I can see this module. So now if I go to design page, I see this new view here, my design view, and it shows this. So this is the template. This is what you start with when you initialize the plugin, the UI plugin. It starts with this example where if you open this on your set of designs, these are 4 designs that I uploaded. I can pick them here and they will be aligned to each other using just this alignment based on the sequence first, and then aligns them in the structure. So the way that this is built is this kind of panel here. This part that you see is actually just really this function. It's a Python function that uses Streamlit. So what it receives is a list of pool IDs and design IDs. These depend on what the user selected here at the top. So by default, it shows designs from all pools, but you can also select only a single pool, and you can also select specific designs here. So this logic here is typically the same, where it just pulls the list of designs from these pools. So in the end, you'll end up with this list of design IDs. So then you could change this here to change the title, and here is the logic. So what this plugin does is here. So this is where you select the first design ID as a Streamlit select box. Then you choose the chain to align on, then the second design and another chain. So this is really what you see here. So it's all just a few lines of Python code. The way that Streamlit works is that whenever the user interacts with the UI, like change something here, it reruns the function from top to bottom, and then it gives you whatever the user entered as variables. So then you can directly work with them. In this case, we fetch the design objects from the database. We have this function get cached design. These are some wrappers that we provide on top of our kind of database. We have this database object that you can use to interact with the database. But we also have these functions that use Streamlit to cache the results. And this is to ensure that when the user is interacting with the app, so each time if we didn't cache this result, it would need to interact with the database on each interaction. So this caching helps speed things up. And then we pass it to our function to align proteins. So what this does is our design has this field where we store the path to the structure. So this is a relative path within storage directory. So you could just read it directly, but we also have this storage object that simplifies things because we also allow storing stuff on S3. So you just use this to read the contents of the first PDB file, read the contents of the second PDB file, then this function aligns them and returns the aligned PDB contents. And so these are already pre-aligned. And then we pass them to this small star component, which is used for structure visualization. And we pass these two structures, and then that way they are overlaid on top of each other here in the UI. So if we wanted to change this, like I can just remove, if we wanted to just use it to show contents of the PDB file, for example. So if we take this and do streamlit write and just read the contents of the PDB, if you refresh, it doesn't really refresh the contents. What you need to do is to restart. Streamlit also provides some auto restart functionality, but for now we haven't made it work with the plugins because they are imported slightly differently, but hopefully that should also come in the future. But now you need to just refresh, and you see it's writing out the contents of the PDB that you choose here in the dropdown. So this is as I showed, this is a Python package. So this is described here in the PyProject Toml. It's a newer alternative to setup Py. If you have used setup Py, this is what you should use instead now. So you should fill in some more metadata here about the package, like the description and the authors. You could also change the dependencies here, but we really strongly recommend not doing that. The reason is that this is a single environment where you have ovo and all the plugins. So if you add any more dependencies here, like you could imagine adding any tool of choice here as a dependency and then using that here to analyze your design directly. But the problem is that as people would do that with more plugins, it would become impossible to install new plugins that conflict with each other. So that's what I will show in the second part of the tutorial, is how to manage dependencies properly, separately using separate Conda environments. The plugin always needs to have this init py file where you actually define what the plugin provides. So this is where you say this plugin provides what we call a design view. So design view is a tab here on the designs page that analyzes designs, and it just points to the function in this file. Yeah, so there's also a README that you can update to reflect your plugin, and importantly, you should push this so you can create your own Git repo, and then people will actually be able to install directly from GitHub. If you're not aware, you can just pip install and then point to a repo, and if the repo contains this setup Py or PyProject Toml, anyone can install it directly without having to clone the repo first. They just point it to the URL. So you can also, of course, publish it to Python package index. So you can just, like, theoretically, you could then pip install aligner. You can search for that. It's once you have the PyProject Toml, it's just really about setting up an account there and then using their command line tools to push your package to there. So then anyone could also pip install like this. Okay. Any questions about this first type of plugin? If not, then I'll proceed for the second. So the main disadvantage of this, as I mentioned, is you should not really use other dependencies here, other tools. And also, if I want to, let's say, analyze 100 designs here, this would, we can simulate this if we just import time sleep, start. It just blocks the user from interacting with the app until this is ready. So if this took an hour, the user will need to keep this tab open and wait and then get the result. So what we really want is to be able to run something in the background, and not just in the background on my machine, but when I'm running this on the HPC, or I want to run the pipeline in the cloud, that's where I need a workflow, as we call a workflow or a pipeline. So that's what we will do in this second plugin, which will be about humanness. But we will start from this plugin template. So I'll show you first kind of what the template is doing, and then we'll show you how to convert that into your own protein analysis plugin. So the template is based on FreeSASA, which is a tool to analyze surface exposed regions. So the user is able to just submit the analysis on the chain of interest. So here you see this log output. So this is where Nextflow is running this workflow, and here it's running this FreeSASA pipeline, and it's waiting for it to finish. So if your OVO instance is set up on the HPC, or if you were using AWS scheduler, this would run in the cloud or with Slurm or PBS or whatever. So this is all parallelized. If I had 1,000 designs here, the pipeline automatically creates batches of, by default, it's 100 designs. So each batch would run as a grid job. So then this would be like, you would only be waiting for that 100 designs batch, because they would all run in parallel if you have enough compute. So now everything is finished, and you see this result. So we have our 4 designs, and their annotations here as a polar surface area and non-polar surface area. So these are 2 descriptors that are computed by the pipeline and then stored in the OVO database. Right. So what this looks like as a plugin repo is, again, a directory. The main difference is here we have also pipelines and environments. So there's a single pipeline called FreeSASA, and we have this Nextflow file. So I won't go into too much details because Nextflow can get quite overwhelming if you want to understand all the bits and pieces. So here, what's most important is that we have this FreeSASA process that we call, and what it does is it calls this Python script that takes in a directory of PDB files and produces a CSV file with the output. So that is this PDB file that just takes in a directory of PDB files. This would be the batch. So let's say 100 PDBs, and it reads them one by one, and then just calls this function to compute some properties. The FreeSASA dependency is defined here. So we have this FreeSASA YAML that defines the Conda environment, and this is referred to from this step in the pipeline as the container name. So this refers to either the Conda environment or the container. So typically on the HPC, it's better to use Singularity, where with OVO we provide a lot of pre-built images. That it means that you don't really have to install any of the third-party dependencies, but they just get downloaded as a Singularity image. That you just behind it all works behind the scenes, that it kind of just starts running, and typically you don't deal with some peculiar setups on your HPC, as long as you have Aptainer or Singularity, of course, to run that container. So to contribute that, we have the dedicated OVO containers repository that you don't have to use necessarily, but the benefit is that we can host these on the public server for everyone to download. So this is a repo where we define these Docker files that in this case, for instance, they have full-seq and Python, thus to enable some clustering analysis. So the way that we can test this pipeline is we can run a script. So you'll need to activate your conda environment for this. And then you can run this bash script test. So this script is here. It's a basic bash script that runs Nextflow on this pipeline and provides the input arguments, which is just a directory of PDB files, in this case, just one file, and the chains to be analyzed. So it spits out the directory that is then just read. Give it a second. It should just run the pipeline. And it spits out this CSV file. In this case, there are two values, the polar and apolar. So that's exactly what you saw in the web app. And this is the ID column that corresponds to the name of the PDB file on the input. So if I go into the database, I can actually look at what this looks like in the OVA database. Is that for each to store these values for our designs here, basically this table is stored that each value has a row in this descriptor value table. So ultimately, a plugin that computes some properties of a design based on its sequence or structure, the results, these annotations, we call descriptors, and one row in this table called descriptor value is one value for one design. So this is the idea of the design. This is the descriptor key. So this says what is this descriptor, and this is the value. So this here is the descriptor key that you can actually see if you go to descriptors. So we do this to enable providing more metadata about each descriptor. So here you have the name or the key of the descriptor, and here is the name, the human readable name, and the description that explains what that descriptor means. So that's how in the UI, here you see polar Sasa, and if you hover, you see the description. That's really kind of a user-friendly way to make sure that all the descriptors that we store in the database have some metadata so the users can understand what they mean. Great. So now we will turn this template into our own plugin. So when we run ovo init plugin, this will create a new plugin module, and it will actually use this as a free Sasa pipeline as a template, but it will also preset a lot of the things for us based on the names that we set in the wizard, and I'll show you later. So then manually, what we'll need to do is these four things. So again, what we want to build is a humanness analysis plugin. So first we'll need to update this conda environment to use instead of free Sasa, we want to use our tool, which is called Prompt. It's pip installable, so that should be easy. Then we'll need to update the Nextflow pipeline to actually run Prompt instead of our free Sasa example script. Then we'll need to update these descriptor definitions that map from these output files to the results in the database. And then if we have still time, we can also add additional parameters to the pipeline and the UI, so the user can set some settings for the pipeline. And these settings are always also stored in the database. So then whenever you run a design workflow or descriptor workflow, you also know which parameters were used to do that. So that's, I would say, a big advantage of ovo compared, like, you lose some flexibility to run ad hoc analysis and run like custom Python code. But if you can only use these pre-built pipelines, it enables you to really store exactly what parameters were used, so that when you look at success rates, you see which designs ended up working or which descriptors ended up being predictive. You can look exactly how they were compute it. Okay, so let's start from here and run ovo init plugin. We'll call it ovo, and it's a descriptor plugin, so we'll choose this template. You'll need to pick a name for the workflow. So this is going to become a Python class. So we use this kind of naming. So this, in this case, we can call it prompt workflow. And then the name of the pipeline. The difference between workflow and pipeline in our case is that the pipeline is the low-level Nextflow pipeline, the name of the directory that hosts the pipeline, and the workflow is the wrapper around it in Python that defines some logic, how to submit, what are the parameters, and how to parse the result from the output folder to the database. So in the end, I'll just choose something similar, just in this format. I can run with init and add the license file. By default, by the way, we use MIT license, which is also the license of ovo. But if you want to use a different license for your plugin, you can also do that. Great. So now it created this folder. It's a bit bigger than before. And there are some files that you see here that based on what I entered, it kind of automatically added this name throughout the plugin, so that you don't need to go in and manually rename this for your tool. So yeah, of course, I need to install it as well. And I can open it here. So this is my new plugin. So I'll start by editing this environment file, where I will replace this Visasa with my tool. It's pip installable, so you can put it here. If you need Conda, you can actually put it here. So this is the Conda block where you could install other dependencies with Conda. You can also add other channels here. By default, we just have Conda Forge. So once I do that, I will try running the test. So this is same as before, but now the Conda environment has changed. So what this will do is when Nextflow starts up, it will automatically start creating the Conda environment. So this will take a while. So then we can take some time to go through the code in the meantime. Yeah. So and you see this already says prompt. Oh, and I see in this case, actually, I ran it before. So the environment has already been set up. So it already failed at this step, which is we actually didn't modify the pipeline yet. So it's still, the template uses this example py script that calls Visasa. So we can just get rid of that and put in our actual analysis. So I have that ready here. So what this does is that this uses the prompt tool, which has a built-in way of analyzing a directory of PDB files. You can also use a Python script. You can either do what was done before, like referring to this bin directory and calling this in a Python script, or you can also like do this. What I did here is an inline Python function. I wouldn't really recommend it for more sophisticated scripts, but yeah, that you can do whatever really here. So this step, by the way, this runs is a single step that uses a single environment. If you had a more complicated pipeline that takes, calls one tool and then it aggregates results from a second tool, you could put them in one environment, and we do that as well sometimes. But you could also have like two steps here. So this is kind of intuitive the way you call this. This has syntax here would be that you pass kind of this result from the first thing to the second thing, something like this. I wouldn't do that here. We only have a single step, but just so you know, if you have multiple steps, you wouldn't fit them all into this script, but would rather create multiple of these processes and then coordinate between them. Okay, so here what this script does is just it calls prompt on this directory of PDB files. I just need to change this here that it passes the chains as a string. Then this parameter is not yet introduced, so I will just hardcode this for now. And it will produce this single CSV. This does not produce the output as we want it. It has like multi-line results. That's why we need this Python script that will just read this file and it will just average it out and spit out the result. So I can just use the single column that is called mutations, and this is basically our humanness score or non-humanness score. And then we save it into this prompt CSV. This also is important, the name of the file, and I'll show you later why that's specified. So yeah, let's try. So if we run our Nextflow test again, this should run our new script. So it should run our tool and produce the CSV file with our descriptors. If you have a more sophisticated pipeline that cannot run locally, you can do all of this on the HPC, and it will use your default configuration for your scheduler. So if you have set up OVO to run on Slurm or PBS, this would be running, on that scheduler. But typically we try to prepare all the tools that they can run on our laptop, because it's the easiest way to debug it, even if it's like without GPU. Typically, even AlphaFold tool you can run locally. Yeah, so in the meantime, I can show, again, we have this init py. In this case, again, it has a design view. We can rename this here. So we could change the title. It refers to this function here in design view, where we have this header. So we can also, okay, so the test has finished, and it outputs this prompt CSV, where we have this ID of the input file and the score. In this case, it's a human structure, so we will get a score of 0. So now if we run the app, by the way, you should see when your plugin is installed into the environment, it should say that here, when it starts up, it should say registering plugin. So you see here, registering plugin OVO prompt. So if I go to designs, I'll see my new plugin here, and I will be able to submit. I can look into the log. You can see this submitted process. So this is a very useful hint here. What this is a working directory. So all these workflows, the way they run is with Nextflow, and Nextflow runs in your OVO home directory. So in this case, for the plugins, I have this OVO2 home directory. By default, it would be OVO in your home directory, but I have it here. And so this is a big directory with a lot of subfolders and folders. So this, what you see here, is a prefix. So I can, again, so I can do cd and then tab to autocomplete the rest. So this is our working directory. If you just list, you won't see much, but you can also, if you list all, the way that Nextflow runs each step of the pipeline is that it creates a working directory for each step. So this is one batch. So this is a batch. It will be one job that analyzes 100, or in this case, just 4 PDB files. And all the inputs are linked here. So you see, this is the PDB there. So I can list it. These are my inputs, and it also stores the outputs. So the step always spits out, as you saw, the result in the current working directory. So this makes everything very easy, is that you, with each step or process, you declare what are the input files and input parameters, and then Nextflow brings them for you into the working directory. So then you can just easily refer to them. Like here, input PyDB directory, and then the output would be this, what we call batch directory. So this is where, if I list this, I should see the 2 files, the nearest CSV. This is the intermediate file. In our case, this looks something like this. So it's multiple results for the same file. So then we use the Python script to, that has these 4 results, 4 scores for the 4 input files. And also notably, if you look at the hidden files, there's the shell script. So this is what will be run. It has already all the values pre-filled. So you might see, like, if there were any parameters, these would be already rendered in this script. So you can actually just run this actually. So you could just do yeah. So sometimes you would need to remove the output file if there's a conflict. Oh, and of course this would be executed in the what you would need to do, yeah, well, for debugging, you would need to activate that environment and run it, just so you know. So I just realized I maybe should not have deleted that file, so I'll create it again. Just paste this. Okay, so now that this is finished, I can check the app again, and I get this error. So let me look into that. So this kind of failed processing the results of the workflow. So the workflow itself has finished, but then this says some designs are missing in the output file. So if you inspect this, you see that actually it didn't find this design and it only finds this, but this is actually just because in our CSV file, we add this, we keep the PDB suffix. So you see in the CSV, this all says .pdb. So this is where we need this processing logic. So it's in a file called models. So this is where we define this wrapper around the workflow. And what we're calling here is this function called process results. So this is where you could also add custom logic. By default, for descriptor plugins, it's typically the same. You have a file with some descriptors and you just read it and save it into the database. So this is already prepared for you. You might not need to change it. But what we do need to change here is this mapping. So this is used to map the value here in the CSV to the design ID. So in our case, this is just needs this missing part that this is the design ID and this would be the value in the column. So the value in the column will have the PDB here. So if I save this, I will need to just restart the app. I don't need to rerun. In this case, the workflow has finished, so it will just, if you retry, it will just run the processing again. So it will still retry processing the results of that workflow. We still get an error, but if you look closely, you will see it's slightly different. So now what it says is that no recognized descriptors found in this file. I only found columns called mutations. So please create descriptor objects with keys starting with this. So what this means, if I go here to the descriptors, you see this still contains the old ones based on the template, SASA. So I'll need to declare my descriptor here. So my descriptor is called mutations. So I will do, and right. So the descriptors can have some metadata, like for instance, here we can say that if we know that you want low values of the descriptor, you can say comparison equals lower is better, and this will impact the way that the descriptor values are visualized in the table. So if you do this, the low values become green and high values become red. And I should rename this also to, and then this list kind of automatically collects all these objects. So the way that you would use it then, the whole reason why we do it this way is that then this has a name, this is a really unique identifier of the descriptor. So when you work with it programmatically, or when you work with it in the UI, you know exactly what descriptor you are working with. So this also can be used from Python to fetch values of those descriptor from the database. So you can do something like from over prompt, first import this, maybe like this, and then you can refer to this descriptor as this. So this would be used downstream from Python to fetch data for this descriptor, just so you know. Okay, so let's try again. I'll restart. So the name here, this last part of the key is the name of the column in the output file. So this is the column that it's looking for, and it will be saved under this key in the database. Great, so now I have my humanness results, and you can also see the description here. The way this is stored in the database, again, if I go into SQLite, I can select these values and have this created 4 records in the descriptor values table, which refer to the design ID and descriptor key. Okay, so the final thing that I'll try to do here is to add a new parameter to our workflow. So this would be the data reference database for prompt. Prompt uses different pre-built databases that define like a set of human peptides. So by default, we use this human reference, which is the human reference genome, but we also have a database for antibody sequences. So let's add that to the UI. So there's this dialog. This defines the submission window that you see here. If you click submit, for now there are only 2 parameters, but we'll add another one. So we'll add here database equals. So yeah, this does not really exist. So this is a Streamlit component that will ask the user to choose between these 2, and then return this as a value. So then you can just create this dictionary of parameters, and this will be used to submit the workflow. So this has already been kind of pre-built for you based on the value that you entered here. So it's creating this workflow object and then calling this function to submit that workflow object to the scheduler. So this is also what you can do from Python. If you want to programmatically call your workflow, you can import this workflow object, pass all the parameters, and then just call this submit function that will submit the workflow. And then there's a second function that would wait for the workflow to finish and process the results, but that comes later. Okay, so yeah, all I need to do for now is to just add this part to add the parameters. So this will get sent to the workflow. So let's try. I can click submit. And I have this new parameter here. I'll try picking this. And now when I submit, it gives me an error. So it says that this is an unexpected parameter. So the where this is defined, first of all, is the schema. So this is our pipeline that we are calling, and this is its schema. So this defines what are the parameters to that pipeline. So we only have for now this input PDB and chains, and we'll need to add a new one. So this is called database. It's a string and reference. There's also this required block here that we can do. In this case, it's going to be a required parameter, so we can put it here. The second place you need to add this is the Nextflow config. This is where you could define any default parameters. This is what Nextflow uses to kind of initialize the parameters. So if there's any defaults, you would set them here. But here in this case, it's just no, so we'll just set it here. The third place where you need to set it is, well, to actually use it. So that's the Nextflow pipeline. So to elaborate a bit more on the Nextflow pipeline, it always starts with this workflow block. So this is our main workflow. We have this block here that is like extra checks that the parameters have been are not filled in. So to get a more user-friendly error message, you can also set that here. And then you'll need to pass it to our process. So db is params db, and then here add this as an input b and set it, use it here. So then whatever the user passes as the GB parameter will get passed here, and then passed to the command. Let's try. Now that if I change only the pipeline, you don't need to rerun the app. The app is only, you need to only to rerun the app if you change some Python code of the app itself. But if you change the workflow, you can just resubmit. So here I'll try to set this other reference database. So this is running. I can check the log. So if I go to this working directory, yeah, you see that now it's pre-filled with the value that I selected in the UI. So it's running against this reference database. Oh, it failed. Let's see what happened. All right, because this data is not really related. So this database needs to be called slightly differently. We need to handle that. But yeah, as a proof of concept, this did what we wanted. So we could also set the length of the peptide. By default, it's 9, but we could also set other settings. If you need more advanced parameters like a file, that's also possible. You could, like in this component, you could ask for the user to upload the file and then pass it for submission and submit it as another type of parameter. It would only need to become, instead of a val, this would need to become right. I think, oh yeah, there's one last place where we need to add the parameter. It's our workflow. So the workflow object, historically, we were using data classes here that kind of hard-coded the list of parameters that were kind of strict way of defining what are the parameters to the workflow. But recently, we changed this to just be a dictionary. It's just a typed dictionary. So what this means, it is a regular dictionary, but when you're working with it in the code, you get type hints. So you see, I actually didn't add that new parameter here, but it's still finished. The only like benefit of this is that it gives you type hints when you're using it in Python or here in the like building the plugin. And the reason that we do that way is that historically, if you change the parameters of the workflow when you were developing it, the previous results were kind of unable to be loaded into this object because the data class just was not compatible with them. So that's why for now we just recommend using a basic dictionary of parameters. And if you cannot set default values here, that's not allowed in this typed dictionary. So we have this other way of setting it. So you would do like here, the default params be set here. And you can also use them then in the UI. So if you create this workflow object, you can also access the defaults here. So if I want it to be really elegant here, I could kind of create this workflow first here and then store the result directly in the workflow params. And then you can do things like here, you would initialize the default value. So actually we need to do something like this, like options, because this needs to be an index. So if you change the default value in the params, it should already be pre-filled in the UI. Okay, I think that wraps it up. I hope this was useful. We will also provide the recording for later, and we'll try to update the documentation based on kind of the transcript to write the step-by-step instructions. And yeah, really happy to hear any questions now or later via email. Maybe one question I'll answer is Gergana asks how much of Hugo's plugin was new in terms of modules and how much is already in OVO. Hugo, you can also comment, but what I wanted to say here is the pipeline lets you reuse existing modules from other pipelines, either from OVO or theoretically also from other plugins. So you can kind of reuse the same container, so the same dependency definition, and the same then even step of the pipeline. So for refolding, for example, you could just call the OVO refolding module to reuse that in your pipeline. And I think we can get into more details when we show you how to build the design workflow. And once Hugo's plugin will be open sourced, then we can also look into that. I don't know, Hugo, if you had more comments.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that even for me, when I was developing the plugin, like at the end of the day, the plugin is just a workflow, and I took a lot of inspiration from the workflows that are already built into OVO, like RF diffusion and Bancraft. So that is also a very useful resource because a plugin is just very similar to what is already in OVO. And same for the design view that I was able to, like for example, coloring the table. There are already predefined functions in OVO that make this really easy. So I guess a lot of the answers are already in the open source code of OVO.
Yeah, so maybe one last action point from us. I'll share the link to the repository, and you can, I think, use, if you have any questions, you can also use this discussions tab in our repo. There's a discussions tab. There's a new feature of GitHub where you can ask if you have ideas on plugins that you want to build. We would be happy to kind of give you a push to point you in the right direction, especially with now the plugins that focus on analyzing designs, and in the future also on like building design pipelines for new de novo design tools.
All right, thank you guys so much. It's going to be a huge resource, I think, for people as they develop these plugins.